Game Changers.
Look at this. Look at this.
It's me. It's
Look at this. Mike Cunha.
He's gone.
He steps out. She steps in.
Better.
Samantha, great to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a breath of fresh air.
Thank you for saying that, because
Cunha doesn't shower very much when he comes on the show.
He really doesn't. Everybody smells it. Everybody knows it.
See?
But listen, speaking of Mike, he's using up some very well-deserved vacation time, but also probably working on that jump shot. Probably,
he better work on that jump shot. From what I saw, I'm telling you, he needs to leave the TV business and become a bricklayer, because that's all he was doing there, throwing bricks after bricks. That's 5 feet away. A 5-year-old could hit more shots than him.
His daughter could hit more shots. Oh my goodness!
He should.
And she's
look at him. Yeah, and he's proud of it. He's proud of it right there.
Poor guy.
An 0 day. You could have made 5 of those shots.
I probably
at least, right?
Well, listen, we are going to talk some Heat now here on Game Changers, and we're going to bring in our friend.
Touchy subject right now, the Heat.
It is. It is. Our Heat radio host, Alejandro Solana. Solana, what a game it was last night. What are your thoughts on what you saw from the team last night?
Yeah, so Wednesday night, I mean, listen, the Heat had a much better shot-making ability than Mike Cunha did, just in that clip you just showed me. No, but what you're seeing from Miami is they entered this stretch of 4 straight games versus teams with either winning records or playoff seeds. Currently, they had struggled against those teams. 17-24, they entered Wednesday night against the Knicks versus those good teams, those playoff teams. That's concerning, right? That was one of the more concerning parts coming into the final stretch of this week. And when you have the schedule that Miami had versus the Knicks, versus the Sixers, who are on their tail in the standings, and then at Indiana, at Houston, part of a 3-game road trip, Miami had to prove that not only could they win at home, which has also not been a strong part of their success this season, but that they could compete with the teams that await them come late April and hopefully May and June as well. So I think that was a big hurdle for Miami to not only win that game, but to win it in a grinded out style, go through some adversity in the fourth quarter, and then overcome it.
Solana, we're getting close. We're getting close to the playoffs. We're getting close to the play-in situation, all that. And this Heat, night to night, day to day, you don't know what they're going to. You don't know who's going to walk. First of all, you don't know who's going to walk out on the court, right? And then you don't know how they're going to play when they get out there. Duncan Robinson, who knows what's going on with him and these other guys that are going. But how do you come to grips with this team playing such a scattered kind of a way, coming into the playoffs with them having a chance to move forward? Now, I'm seeing Jimmy Butler on a lot of TV commercials. And if they don't get in the playoffs, those commercials are going to go away come the NBA Finals or NBA playoffs. So Jimmy better get in there and get some dough out of those commercials.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sure the dough's coming in.
No doubt.
Yeah. But no, I mean, look, you're absolutely right. A big concern is lack of continuity with this team, right? Rotations, who's going to play, who's going to start. We were so focused on, well, when Tyler Hero returns, Duncan Robinson, is he going to be the starter? He's been phenomenal in that starting unit this year. Tyler Hero right now, there's no timetable for his return. So that's kind of up in the air. Miami's had to use 34 different starting lineups, a franchise record this year. So you're right, Bo. I mean, it's been up and down all season long with lineups, guys in and guys out. But bottom line, Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo are your 2 best players. They're the most experienced guys. They've been to the NBA Finals 2 times, 3 conference finals over the last 4 seasons. Those are the 2 guys who Miami is going to need to play consistently great elite basketball, not only down the stretch of the season, but come playoff time as well. And then everything else they're hoping will fall into place. They've talked so much about their depth, whether it's Duncan Robinson, Kevin Love returned over the past week as well, had a really good showing Wednesday night versus the New York Knicks. Guys like Haywood Highsmith have to step up as well, Caleb Martin. I mean, they're going to rely on those ancillary pieces to help them. But bottom line, Bo, you're 100% right. If Jimmy and Bam aren't playing excellent basketball, they have no chance.
The other thing now is you're starting to get some people going into Eric Spoelstra's ear. Hey, what's Eric? Starting to criticize Eric Spoelstra, which we haven't seen that, I don't think, since he stepped into that spot, criticism like he's getting right now.
Perhaps with the big 3. I think Coach Spo received a lot of criticism. There were Heat fans
maybe that's from his own players. Back then.
But I mean, there were Heat fans who made "We Want Riley" T-shirts during that first rough stretch, which is crazy to think about. I don't know if I've seen too much criticism of Coach Spo, more so questioning of the lineups. Does Niko Jovic still deserve a starting spot? Should it be Thomas Bryant or Kevin Love off the bench? Should Jimmy Butler be playing more minutes? Should Bam Adebayo be taking as many threes as he's taking, even though they've been going in? But I think if you look at the one mainstay, the one constant throughout all the success Miami's had over, a decade plus, it's been Coach Spo. Everybody talks about how great of a basketball coach he is. The other day, they locked down Jalen Brunson, one of his worst shooting performances in a long time, and he didn't credit Haywood Highsmith, who had him in a blender the entire game. He didn't credit Jimmy Butler or Bam Adebayo. He said, hey, that's Coach Spo. He has those guys ready to go every night. So, there's obviously going to be times when the coach will make mistakes with a certain rotation, a certain substitution, but I think Coach Spo has built up that cachet where his guys and the rest of the NBA are trusting pretty much every decision
he's got a lot of immunity against detractors, no doubt about that.
Solana, going back to last night, what a game. Terry Rozier had 34 points. I mean, he just went off. But it's so funny to think how when he first got here, so many people were kind of questioning, like, they brought him here for a reason, right? And he's kind of struggling to find his groove. And he said it himself, too, right? Give me some time. I'm going to get there. So to see him go off the way he did last night, how comforting was it for the fans and for the team to see it?
That's a massive sign that Terry Rozier is not only playing well, but that three ball is going for him, because if the Heat don't start knocking down their threes, they're not going to have that same type of postseason success. It's Scary Terry hours right now in Miami, and he's knocked down 19 three-pointers over the last 3 games, and that playmaking style point guard that you saw in Charlotte, where he'll go isolation, step back to his right, step back to his left, take over stretches of the game. He's feeling more comfortable to do that now. He's just had to learn how to play next to elite players. He hasn't had that opportunity up in Charlotte, where they've got guys like Mike Cunha putting up shots throughout the game. So
one stitch taking a shot.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was always part of the plan for him to take on more of a load offensively. And now, I mean, he's really in a groove. He's in a rhythm. The question is, can he sustain it? Yeah. He hasn't played playoff basketball in a long time. That, to me, is the question. Can he sustain it when, these games get a lot more intensity comes with these games, especially down the stretch here. Games Miami has to win if they want a top 6 seed. If he can, that's a huge threat for the Heat, especially on the offensive end.
All right, Solano, we'll see how he and the Heat do down the stretch here. It's definitely going to be some fun last games here. But Solana, appreciate the time. As always, we've got more coming up here on Game Changers. Steve Goldstein joins us next to talk Panthers.
Nice.
We'll be right back.
Ooh, they're rough right now.
Game Changers is sponsored by your Volkswagen dealers of South Florida. Shop your 7 passenger favorites at VWFlorida.com.
Well, I'll tell you this, you may think it's a bold statement because of what you just said, Mike. The Panthers might be the best team in sports right now. Honestly, first of all, they never lose. They've lost 5 games in regulation since December.
Yikes. That's a little awkward. That's a little awkward. Welcome back into Game Changers. And Goldie, I don't think you've been the best luck for the Panthers as of late. They have cooled off, actually.
You should have known. You should have known. 2-8. Since you made that bold proclamation.
3 weeks ago.
2-8. From the best team in sports to 2-8. That's like sliding down that big dump that's on the turnpike. Sliding down to the bottom.
Goldie?
You got to take, I love it. There's a little accountability. Usually people come on, we say all this stuff, and no one ever brings it up again. So I appreciate you. Yeah, I never should have said that. 100%. It's the broadcaster jinx. Bad move. Bad call. Do not blame illness. Do not blame injuries. Yep. Don't blame anything else.
Nothing.
Point the finger right here.
That's it. That's it. It goes back to you. Paul Maurice, got your name, got your picture on the wall with an X on it.
Right.
You're out.
Right.
Oh, man. Goldie, we still love you, though. You are joining us out from Canada. And we're going to talk about the little bit of rough patch that the Panthers have had. They've lost 6 of their last 8. How concerning is it right now?
Well, first of all, Samantha, it's wonderful to have you on Game Changers. You're a lot nicer than Cunha, and certainly nicer than the guy you're sitting with. So, and
she's a better shot than Cunha when it comes to basketball.
I think we all do, though.
And she enjoys sweets. She doesn't just eat, all that hell. And Samantha will have a piece of cake once in a while.
There
so we
you
love
go.
that.
Yes, I will.
It is very interesting because they were playing at such a high level for such a long period of time. Some have the school of thought that you want to have a little bit of a hiccup. You don't want to go into the playoffs, the old President's Trophy curse. The number one team in the NHL never, ever wins the Stanley Cup. Now, we're going to find out. They already got their spot clinched. I'll tell you this, watching these games, broadcasting these games, they don't have the same juice. They don't have the same jump and sense of urgency that they had the first, 65, 67 games of the year. And maybe for this group, it's difficult to manufacture it because they don't have the same urgency. They're already in the playoffs. And as we learned last year, I think as fans, you all like to win the division and finish as high as you can. But probably in 2 weeks, it really doesn't matter where they finish in the standings. It's a little bit of a dangerous game to play. You know this, Bo, trying to flip that switch of, okay, we'll be okay once the money time comes again. I think before the season ends, over the last handful of games, they like to get their game back, get their team back. I don't know if that's going to happen. Verhaeghe and Ekblad might be out until the playoffs. But it's kind of been fascinating to watch, really. Yeah,
well, you know what? You talk about injuries and those things, and the team just playing unevenly with the different lines and stuff. But there's still time for the guys to get healthy. And like you said, I think you can look at it two ways. You can go, oh my gosh, look at what they've done over the last 8 games or 10 games. Or you can look at it as, hey, look, we've had some injuries. Guys are getting out. They're getting healthy. So when we get to the playoffs, they're going to be a little more healthy. As you said, it doesn't matter what seed you're in. It matters how you play when the lights come on in the playoff season.
Yeah, that's for sure. And we learned that last year. Last year with 8 games to go, they were dead and buried, and they were going to the Alex Lyon in goal, hoping against all hope something would happen. And they go 6-1-1, and then they have the epic run, even after falling behind Boston 3-1. So it's going to be interesting to see. They're probably going to play Toronto in the first round. I think they're pretty confident against, the Maple Leafs. They played well against them, except for the game a couple nights ago, but overall, and beat them last year in the playoffs. But it's been interesting to watch. One thing that's really fascinating to me is that Paul Maurice, who's, old school, hard-nosed coach, he doesn't seem the least bit concerned about what's gone on. That to me is as interesting as anything. Yeah,
I was going to ask you that. What's his demeanor during this slide? Because if you remember last year, he was the guy on the bench that kind of chewed his team out and that basically flipped the switch on them. So maybe he's biting his tongue right now. Maybe gets a little closer to the playoffs before he chews them out a little bit.
Well, that's exactly what he said, Bo. He's kind of towing this line of, I don't want to start calling them names and get on them too much now. You want to keep the confidence, but at some point you got to start playing a little bit better. He also made a kind of a cryptic comment last night, talking to him before the game. And, he said, we know why this is happening, and we're going to be just fine. Yeah. He gave the old Aaron Rodgers, everybody relax. Yeah. So for a guy that's been doing this for 25 years in the history that he's had, I think he's earned a little bit of a scholarship. Yep. So I kind of take his cue, at least for now.
Well, Goldie, as the Panthers get ready for the playoffs here, who do you think scares them the most? And we also got to talk about Sam Reinhart. Can he get to 60?
Well, first off, he's got a shot. A handful of games left. He just keeps on scoring. It doesn't help that Verhaeghe, Tkachuk was out for the one game, just sick, but Verhaeghe is going to be out probably till the end of the regular season. Maybe he gets one more game, but that's part of that power play. He's got all those power play goals, but he can do it. When they come home from this road trip, they're done with the road games. You got games against Buffalo, Ottawa, Columbus, not exactly top team. So he's got a chance.
All right, well, Goldie, don't go anywhere yet. We've still got you here for another segment here on Game Changers. The Marlins.
Thought he was going to scoot out. Go get himself a pregame meal. Charge it to the team.
The Marlins are off to a pretty tough start. We're going to talk about it next here on Game Changers. Welcome back to Game Changers. The Marlins are not doing too well.
An 0 for
6. Yeah,
how about that? They go to two extra inning games, lose.
Yeah.
0 for, and
rough to
It was,
watch.
I was really looking for. I thought this was going to be a really good season for the Marlins. I think thought it was going to be exciting. Look, they were ahead 4-0 in one game. They chipped away and lose 5-4, whatever the score was there. They've scored runs early, but that bullpen needs some help. I don't know what they're going to do throughout this season if this bullpen's going to be like that and just giving up runs here and there. I don't know.
Well, it's interesting. You say you thought they were going to be good this season, but I mean, it's just the start of the season. Can you really say they're not
but in baseball, they always say you lose early games. They go, that's a long season.
Right.
But you know what? Those games count the same at the end of the season as it does right now. So not a good way to start the season off at all.
Goldie, what are your thoughts?
Well, first off, Bo Camper, you should be happy they didn't run out of hot dogs on opening day.
Well,
so I know
I would have talked about it if they did, because it's not wouldn't have been the first time, my friend.
Well, this year they did. Now, you guys, very convenient, okay? You rip me after I make the silly Panther comment, and then they start losing. Why didn't you bring back the clip last week when I told you, without the starting pitching and the pitching being hurt, this team had no chance to win? You didn't play that clip, did you? I'm not surprised.
Their starting pitching's been all right. It's the back of the rotation.
Firsthand, I mean, and again, you got injuries. Some of these guys, except for Sandy, will be back. You got A.J. Puck starting. I mean, come on. I know he was okay in spring training. He's not a starting pitcher. Luzardo is not a number one. We love him, but he's a middle of the rotation guy. So you can't be surprised. The bats, as you guys said, it gets lost in the shuffle when you don't win any games. The bats have been okay. I mean, they had a 4-0 lead. They had a 5-0 lead. They scored some runs. They just, without their big guys starting, the guys have to step up. It taxes the bullpen. Skip Schumacher, I think it was after the third game of the season, was talking about how my bullpen was totally gassed. It was taxed. I had nobody left after the third game of the season.
Well, listen, I want to talk about a comment from Jazz Chisholm.
Big Jazz.
He said they lost because the roof was open.
I
don't know how much.
I think they lost because they didn't score enough runs.
That too, probably. Most likely. I don't know.
Pretty nice day to have it open, right? I mean, isn't that the point? Isn't that why they have the retractable roof? A nice day, you open it up.
But Bo, for you, what does it sound like to you when you hear a player say that? Does it sound more like excuses?
It does. Right? It does. Absolutely. Hit the ball further. There you go.
Goldie?
Yeah, look, when you lose a game, you'd rather not hear your players complain about the field or the fans or anything like that. They didn't bring any hot dogs
down to them, right?
That would be a legitimate complaint, actually, if they didn't do that. Number one, it probably does make a difference. They're used to it being closed, but they had those workouts before the season, right? Why didn't they open it? Maybe they did and practice in it. If they didn't, they should have. If they did, he has nothing to complain about. Right. And I know there's shadows with the roof and all that kind of stuff, but, man, when you start over like they have, nobody wants to hear players complaining about weather conditions.
It would be all right if they were like 6-2, and then you could use that for an excuse, but not when you're 0 for whatever at that point,
Right.
All right, let's go from talking about rough patches to some pretty exciting times for college women's basketball. That is what we're going to be talking about next here on Game Changers. Don't go anywhere.
I'm a fan. I jumped on bandwagon.
Welcome back to Game Changers. I'm Samantha Rivera. He's Kimbo Camper. We are about to bring in our incredible producer, Leo Gomez. He's got a little something for us from the control room. Leo,
what happened to the emo guy?
No, we got rid of him. We had to step it up, Bo.
Okay.
We had to step it up.
Step it up in class. I got it.
So this is what caught our attention this week, Samantha, Kim, and Steve. College basketball. Monday night, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Caitlin Clark from Iowa facing LSU.
Come on.
12 million viewers on Monday night. My question to you guys is, that's a lot of people watching college basketball, let alone women's college basketball. What is more interesting, the women's Final Four or the men's Final Four?
Oh, it's a women's, hands down. Are you kidding me?
I'm gonna tell you what, the women's tournament now is more compelling to me than the men's tournament right now. With Caitlin Clark playing at her level, with the game, that game against LSU, it was one of the most competitive basketball games. I say maybe not the best basketball, but one of the most competitive games I've seen. And the stars came out and played well, and that's what we're seeing out of women. The stars are coming out and they're playing extremely well for these basketball teams. And I think the whole nation is starting to embrace college basketball. Look, last year they had 10 million watching these games. Now there's 12, and so this is just going to grow and grow. More importantly, they're filling stadiums now, and so people are coming in to see them. People are waiting in line for hours to see Caitlin play towards the end of the season. I think it's absolutely fabulous for basketball and women's basketball.
100%. To see somebody like Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark go at it, I mean, it was
I'm gonna tell you, they were banging too, man. This wasn't a softy game. They were pushing, shoving, knocking people down.
Physical.
It was good stuff, man.
Yeah, and then you got, like you said, you see the stars come out. You saw Jason Sudeikis go out to that game, and then of course Paige from UConn, Juju from USC.
Is that lady got a big
all
beard
of these
back there? What is it? Oh, that's her hair.
That's right.
Oh, there you go. Right.
Yeah, but no, it's been a really, really fun time getting to watch these women get the time that they deserve, get to shine on TV and on a national stage. Goldie, have you been watching?
I tell you what, it has been great, okay? And if LSU is playing against Iowa in the Final Four, I think that one would have more juice. But to answer Leo's question, I'm still more intrigued if UConn on the men's side can dominate and go back-to-back. I'm not trying to say it's not compelling. It is, and I'll be watching them both. But if I had to watch one, I'm still going with the men because I want to see if anybody could beat UConn.
I would watch the men's final over the women, but not the semis now. I'll go with the women on that.
All right. Well, I'm going to watch both. I'll just say that. I think they're both.
You must have a lot of time on your hand.
Well, listen, that's going to do it for us here on Game Changers. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you guys next time.